we're taking it day by day. You know, for some of us, it hasn't fully sunk in yet. Just working through it. But, you know, we're glad that the community has helped us.
The entire area of the Palisades, village, alphabet streets are all gone. It looks like Hiroshima.
Even though you are in the, very, very bad situation, you still can come out and help people.
Welcome, everyone, to this special edition of the Fox 11 News at 7 o'clock, our continued wildfire coverage. I'm Marla Tejas.
I'm Alex Michelson. Usually at this time, we turn things over to Extra and Billy Bush and also TMZ at 7:30. But we are preempting the next hour for commercial-free coverage of all the wildfires. We'll talk about the latest forecast. We'll talk about what's next, rebuilding, insurance, harrowing stories. We've got a bunch of guests. We've got a special program, and we're grateful that you're here for it. But let's start with the weather and the concern that there could be more fires ahead. Adam Kruger here with that.
Yeah, red flag warning conditions continue. Critical fire weather conditions continue in some areas, not everywhere. And I said this yesterday. You guys might remember that I think a lot of the LA basin might be sitting around today going, where's all the wind? There are some areas north and east and kind of all around LA where we're finding some strong winds right now, just not in a good chunk of the LA basin. We'll outline that in a moment. But first, let's look at what has changed with the forecast today. If you're just joining us, we've been on for a while here today, but if you're just kind of catching up on what's going on, the high wind warning was canceled. There's a wind advisory still, but a high wind warning was canceled. A little bit of good news. Winds haven't quite been as strong as they were originally looking like they were going to be. Then we have the PDS red flag warning. We talked a lot about that in the days leading up to today, and that was delayed now, pushed back more so into Wednesday. So it's still in effect and still up north, but into Wednesday. And also the red flag warning was extended for a few areas north up towards, let's say, the San Gabriel Mountains and also the Santa Susana Mountains, extended into Thursday for the red flag warning there. But for most locations, the red flag warning will end at the end of the day tomorrow. Now, current wind gusts. This is what I was talking about earlier. Look at all the low wind speeds, a lot of single digits in and around Los Angeles, but you get out into the Inland Empire down to the Santa Ana Mountains, you see some gusts, 20s, 30s, 40s. Up through the San Gabriel Mountains, we see some strong winds, and generally out of this event that we're in the middle of, the strongest winds will be going from east-northeast right through this area. So San Fernando Valley, San Gabriel Mountains, the other clusters of mountains, Santa Monica Mountains, Santa Susana Mountains that are all up in that area, Santa Clarita and a little bit north of there as well. So just a closer look in, you see some current gusts that are in the 40s. So we've got that wind. It's just not windy everywhere. And this map is going to do a really good job of highlighting where the strongest winds are likely to be as we continue into tomorrow. So first of all, tonight you can see there's some pockets where it's breezy, but not incredibly windy. Those winds do go up and increase, though, as we go into Wednesday morning, which is why it's these areas up here where the particularly dangerous situation red flag warning starts officially at 3 a.m. tomorrow and lasts until 3 p.m. tomorrow. So you can see these winds, they're around 40 or so, could gust as high as 50, even 60 in some of the highest elevations. That can't be ruled out. That's a look at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Then as we continue into tomorrow afternoon, we're past the peak. We're over the hump on this. Still some breezy winds, not all happening just up north, but you can see through the Cajon Pass, the 15 there, down through the Inland Empire. There will be a portion of that area where we see some of those strong winds as well. But this will be our main concern spot. Tomorrow is our main concern day. We get beyond tomorrow, and Thursday is looking better. We do see, as you can see here, the streamlines change direction, the winds changing direction, and finally by Thursday, we see an onshore wind, and that type of weather will carry into Friday and into this weekend as well. Back to you.
All right, Adam, thank you so much. Our next guest, he's an expert who knows just about everything there is to know about homes, and he has some really important tips on what to do to prevent the next wildfire disaster. He is Dean Sharp. He hosts Home with Dean Sharp on KFI AM 640. He's known as the House Whisperer. He has a podcast. You can see he has the whole setup. Good to have you, Dean.
Good to be with you, Marla.
I want to start the conversation by asking you, what don't people understand when it comes to your home and wildfires?
I would say, without question, the one thing that most homeowners do not understand about how a fire approaches and ignites their home, and this is a statistic that is consistent nationwide. It was true this time in the Palisades and in Altadena, and that is 80% of homes that burn ignite before the fire line actually reaches the house. Now, how is that? Wind and embers. Embers, storms of embers flying through the air that actually are pulled into our attic space and ignite vulnerable things around our homes.
That's an unbelievable statistic. So you think you're safe and you're really not, because those embers, we've seen them fly 1 to 2 miles. Let's talk about how to harden your home when it comes to fire, make it fire hardened. Number one, we talk about this all the time here, and that's defensible space.
Yeah. Defensible space simply means getting flammable stuff away from your home, as far away as possible. That means the stuff, especially in the side yard of your home, that just gets stored up underneath the eaves. All of those things, we need to find new homes for them so that they are not subject to being, again, ignited by embers and then burning up into the edge of our roof lines.
Okay, and those embers can get into the attic vents, and there's such a thing as ember-resistant attic vents.
Yes, and I would say we push people in this direction all the time. I think every single home that is within 5 miles of an open space in Southern California, which is just about every home, should seriously consider retrofitting their attic vents with ember-resistant vents. There are some fantastic companies around right here in Southern California, companies like Brand Guard Vents. They are available, actually founded by an Orange County firefighter. These are vents that allow just as much airflow into the attic as a normal vent, but that has a dual baffle system that will stop a hot ember from entering the attic. And again, most homes that ignite because of embers traveling into the attic space.
And then what about dirty gutters? That's not good. We don't want dirty gutters.
There are also ember-resistant gutter covers for gutters, but even if you don't want to spend the money on those, if you know that we're in wildfire season, it's time to clean the gutters out. It's not the gutters themselves, it's the dry leaves that are sitting in them that have been sitting in them way too long.
I know a lot of people think about, well, like this, I don't have the money to do this. And now I want to get into the conversation about windows, because there are fire-rated or window film that you can buy, but there are different price points that easily can be purchased.
Well, it's code here in California now for new constructions and major remodels that if you live up against a urban wildlife high fire zone space, that if you're going to do that remodel or build new, you need to put fire-rated windows at least on the side of the house that faces that open space. Fire-rated windows are not a mystery. All it means, it's a regular window, but instead of standard glass, which superheats and shatters in a fire-resistant window is made with tempered glass, which is manufactured at a much higher temperature than a wildfire actually can produce. And therefore, when the fire line reaches the house, it heats up the glass does not shatter, and therefore the fire does not have an open space to get inside the house. That's obviously replacing a lot of windows. It's very expensive. If you're not ready to do that, you can still fire harden your windows by using fire-resistant window film, like window tinting, like you would put on car windows. 3M has some amazing products that are Class A fire rated. That means they'll hold up for an hour or so. The glass is still going to shatter, but the window film holds the pieces in place so the flames can't make it into the house.
Wow, interesting. We have about 30 seconds left. Last line of defense here, pre-evacuation, fire gel.
Fire gel is not a gimmick. It is something that we hope that most homeowners who live in that open space would consider. You store it ahead of time. This is right before you evacuate, literally minutes before you evacuate. You hook these gel canisters up to your garden hose. You spray down the house, and it gives an extra layer of foamy fire resistance to anything you put it on. Roof, walls, patio furniture, trees near the house. It can hold for up to 12 to 24 hours, and it's just your last best line of defense before you evacuate.
And you gave us the website firegel.com for more information. You are a wealth of knowledge. He has a show again on KFI AM 640. It's called Home with Dean Sharp. He's known as the House Whisperer. That shows Saturday 6 a.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. again on KFI AM 640. Dean Sharp, thank you so much for helping us protect our homes.
Thanks, Marla.
All right, let's talk now about the Palisades Fire and questions about how it started. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf got his hands on some exclusive video. He's got that for us tonight. Matthew.
Yeah, all of that under investigation. We've been talking about that today with possible connections to a fire that started about a week before. But actually right now we're live downtown in Pacific Palisades near the village. You can look up at the trees tonight. Relatively calm, which is great news. Not windy at all. And then if you pan to the village, the National Guard is stationed out. You'll see police driving by as well, just making sure everyone that's out here is supposed to be out here checking for looters. But also notice the village relatively untouched. But if you swing it this direction, I mean, just on the other side of the street, it is devastation everywhere, basically, that you can see. Right now, firefighters here are kind of staging as well as mopping up and putting out hot spots. But I do want to join the battalion chief from the Long Beach Fire Department. First off, you're out here tonight. How are things looking tonight?
You know, it's still a lot of work out here. Our primary duties tonight are trying to mop up, put out hot spots that we find, and primary focus is just save the structures that we've already had the chance and ability to save.
Any concerns? I know that the winds were picking up, and right now it's relatively calm, but as you mentioned, there are some hot spots possibly still out there.
Yeah, there is a lot of concerns out here. Not only the weather, not only the hot spots, not only the predicted winds and the RHs and the red flag warning. We've got a ton of different hazards out here, from weakened structures to open utilities to anything from fall trip hazards. So yeah, there's quite a few hazards.
Long Beach Fire Department, not very close to where we are, but you guys were one of the earlier crews to get here a week ago when all of this was happening. First off, just walk us through that and what was it like?
So initially, all these Long Beach Fire Department engines were actually in the stations in Long Beach the day of. The way that the master mutual aid system works in the state of California, where you always try to help out, surrounding organizations and entities. We had the call fairly early. We came up here, code 3 response as fast as we can, and got immediately to work. So we were actually on fire, fighting fire around 4 o'clock that day.
Wow, and how long have you been doing this as a firefighter, and have you ever experienced anything like you did last Tuesday night?
Yeah, so I've been a firefighter for almost 28 years now. I initially started with the United States Forest Service, and I'm coming up on 25 years with the city of Long Beach. And no, I have never seen anything like this. I've been in fires, Idaho, Oregon, Utah, Washington, Arizona, all over. I have never seen anything like this. It's tough to describe what we did that night. You almost can't put it into words. It was so intense. It was so ferocious. It was so fast moving. You had to utilize all your knowledge, skills, abilities to try to save what we can save and move on and keep all of our folks safe and try to get the public out and try to save as much as we could in a very short, compressed time.
Yeah, and I know you were telling me you were out here for 48 hours and didn't go home, no sleep those whole 48 hours.
Yeah, probably the fastest 48 hours of my life and everyone out here that first night. The crews were fully committed as trying to save as much property and life as we possibly could. So we're working on skill, adrenaline, compassion, all of the above.
Well, we thank you for what you do and your team, and stay safe out here. We understand that there's still a lot of work to do, so we appreciate that. Thanks.
All right, thank you guys for your support too.
Stay safe, and yeah, you can tell right now they've been putting out hot spots and mopping over here, and this is kind of their staging grounds tonight in case there are any flames or fires that pop up. But overall conditions right now in Pacific Palisades looking way better than what we were seeing just a week ago. I'll head and send it back to you.
Matthew Seedorf, thank you so much.
A candlelight vigil tonight at Nickerson Gardens in Watts to honor lives lost in the recent fires.
We are working extremely hard to bring some sense of peace to our communities.
This event paying special tribute to 82-year-old Rodney Nickerson, who died in the Eaton Fire at his longtime home in Altadena. Nickerson, a retired Lockheed Martin engineer, was the grandson of William Nickerson, Jr., the founder of Golden State Mutual Life Insurance, and the namesake of Nickerson Gardens. Nickerson Gardens in Watts is the largest public housing development in L.A. Rodney Nickerson had lived in his home in Altadena since 1968.
Well, we have seen the images. This was what it looked like of raining ash. We're seeing toxic air quality due to historic wildfires, and experts are warning that outside and even inside air could pose serious health risks. Joining us now is an expert, our emergency room physician, Dr. Michael Daigneault, our Fox 11 medical contributor. Dr. D, good to see you.
Good evening.
Okay, so a lot of people, we knew last week, right when this was happening, smoke was everywhere, the air quality was terrible, you're coughing if you go outside. A lot of people were staying inside.
Right.
Now we're at a point where hopefully we don't have a lot more fires. A lot of the smoke has dissipated. You look at the air quality sensors, it looks like it's all green.
Right.
You say deceiving. Yeah,
I think it's falsely reassuring because, as you mentioned, the air quality index, using things like IQ air, if you look at the map today, it's all green. But you have to remember that only tests for 5 common pollutants. So that's ozone that's close to the ground, particulate matter like wildfire smoke, and then carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide. But it doesn't test for all those carcinogens like lead paint, asbestos, plastics, things that could have been in these buildings pre-code that are now in the air. And there's just no way to test for that. We just have to assume that that stuff is in our environment right now.
Yeah, because a lot of those buildings in the Palisades were built at a time before the asbestos rules went in, and probably some of them in Altadena as well.
True.
So when are we safe? How do we know?
I think the unfortunate answer is we don't. We just have to give it a matter of time, and you just have to assume that even if that air quality index map is green, that you're going to be exposed to those particulates. And I think you have to be very careful. You have to wear the N95 when you go outside, and that's for the broader LA County area. Even if you don't smell smoke, you have to assume, you have to protect yourself, because as we said before, we don't want to realize in 10, 20 years that we had a 9/11 type event where people were exposed to all these carcinogens after.
Well, talk about that. So that was especially a lot of the first responders that went and worked on the pile in 9/11, and then years later, a lot of them got cancer.
Right. And, you know, you think about the scale of the World Trade Center, and then you talk about the amount of buildings that were burned with particularly the 2 fires we had here. It makes me really nervous, especially for the first responders, but then for the greater community too.
So you're talking about not even, one thing if you like live in Pacific Palisades, but you're talking about all around.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you don't...
Because we don't see that. We don't see most people wearing masks right now.
Right, and I think that's the scary part. People think that if they're far from it, if they don't smell smoke, that they're potentially safe, and I don't think that's the case, especially if you have cardiovascular disease, lung disease, asthma, you're very young, you're elderly, you're going to be more exposed to having difficulty.
What are you seeing in the ER? Are you seeing people come in with this problem?
Well, right now I work mostly in the South Bay, and so, you know, we haven't had a lot of particular, and it's kind of hard for patients to say, you know, the wildfires set off my asthma, my respiratory disease, my cardiac disease. Certainly there's flu and other things like that right now that are more likely to cause those asthma exacerbations. But I think going forward, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of it.
So bottom line is, if you can work out inside, if you can do stuff inside, try to stay inside, at least for now.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are runners, and they've been asking me if they can go back to their runners club, if they can train outside, and, you know, I'm telling them to still stay in the gym or try to go further south. The farther south you can go to run outside would probably be better. People at home have to make sure that their windows, their vents, their doors are sealed well. Try to limit indoor pollution, so the candles running, smoking, things like that inside, you don't want to do that. You need an air purifier, you need a HEPA filter, and those are just some things you need to do. And I don't think we're out of the woods as far as the air quality, and we won't be for a while.
Yeah, and I wonder if we got some of the things we talked about.
Yeah.
Wearing the N95, keep indoor air clean, limit use of candles, gas, smoking, use HEPA filters, air purifiers, all good advice from Dr. Daigneault. And hopefully someday soon we can get a drizzle and try to clear out some of the air.
That would be wonderful.
Nice wind and a drizzle, not hard rain, because then we're going to deal with mudslides, and that's a whole other issue. Dr. D, great to see you. Glad you're safe.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, Marla, over to you.
A cherished Altadena landmark is gone. Last week, the Eaton Fire destroyed much of St. Mark's Episcopal Church and School. Christy Fajardo has more.
Yeah, Marla, the head of the school tells us that a church is much more than a building. She says it's a community, and she says that the people who walk through these doors came together to celebrate life events like weddings and also births, and they came together to mourn loss, and they also raised their kids together at the school, and now she says they need to come together. Take a look. I want to show you what it looked like. This was St. Mark's School and Church a week ago, or at least what it looked like a week ago. It was surrounded by trees, and each day welcomed about 325 students. Now it's in rubble. The head of the school, Jennifer Tolbert, says St. Mark's is looking for a new building with about 15 classrooms to accommodate students preschool age through 6th grade. Tolbert, by the way, is doing all of this while she herself lost her home to the Eaton Fire, and she says so did many of her students, and she says they need to be together. But even in the devastation, she's finding signs of hope. Last Monday, she tells us she did a walkthrough in the preschool, which was just completed. It is now the only building standing, and the preschool was also how St. Mark's was originally founded, so she sees that as a sign that they will soon be reunited.
We're about to bring our community back together. We're just starting to schedule some in-person opportunities. We know how desperately our children need to be together. So many of them have lost their homes. So many of us, and myself included, you know, our families, church and school. So people have lost their homes, children have lost their school, and we are fighting really hard to make sure that they don't lose their community.
And again, she says she needs a building with about 15 classrooms to accommodate all the students, and she's hoping someone out there might have some leads or ideas. She's also asking that officials clear regulatory hurdles so they can get a new school back up and running or rebuild this one. And again, she's asking for help if anyone has any leads on where they might be able to reopen. For now, though, I'm live in Altadena. Let's send it back to you.
Christy Fajardo, thank you so much. Marla.
Okay, we want to continue our conversation with someone who lost everything in the Eaton Fire in Altadena. He's a filmmaker, lifelong Altadena resident, Steven Scipio, pardon me, sorry about that. Your family lost, your parents lost their home. They lived there for 53 years. You were staying with them at the time. Your children lost their home.
Yes.
Their mother lost their home. Just in case people didn't see our earlier conversation, recap what you've gone through in the last week.
It's kind of numbing, you know. If you've never been in a situation like this, it's like a shock. You know, initially you're gutted. I was gutted when I saw my childhood home, and we're just taking it one day at a time. That's really all you can do, you know.
And the pictures that we're looking at were shot by Steven. Literally, his son alerted him to the red sky, and then everything just went from there. Thank goodness everyone is out and safe. Now the recovery starts. Where do you even begin? What is that like for you and the family?
Well, I just want to say that the surrounding areas, Los Angeles surrounding areas like Pasadena, Glendale, Burbank, everywhere have been amazing with the support. Like, there's mounds of clothes everywhere for people to choose from, water, food. Now moving forward, I think one of the toughest things to talk about is helping people get a roof over their head. And I think monetary donations are probably what people need right now. They need a little breathing room. They need to figure out, you know, I lost a car. I'm sure a lot of other people lost cars, car collections, you know. So we just need a little time to breathe and figure out our next move. And the support has been amazing thus far.
You have a 14-year-old daughter.
Yes.
And an 8-year-old son.
Yes.
That cannot be an easy conversation to help them understand what in the world is going on.
Yeah, so my daughter took it very hard.
And she's the teenager.
Yes, she's the teenager, and so I just have to encourage her to cry as much as she needs to and talk about it as much as she would like to, but just know that we have her back, and we'll get through it, we'll move forward. But my son, all he wants to do is play soccer. You know, we asked him if he wanted to play a game, and he said, I just want to do normal stuff. So, you know,
normalcy.
Yeah, so.
You know, there's been a lot of critiquing in the process in the aftermath. It sounds like you have been treated really well in the recovery process as it relates to the government and local officials. How do you describe that experience?
I will say initially Airbnb looked out for a lot of people in putting us up, giving us a $1,300 stipend with, I think it's 211.org. But that's going to run out.
quickly.
So we're looking for, government officials, local officials to kind of help us out with what's next. And the community, the internet is amazing. Like, people have given and given and given from far and near to us via our campaigns, GoFundMe campaigns. That's what's really helping people out.
The video that viewers are looking at now, this is literally the day after, and this was your parents' home of 53 years?
Yeah. So I'm standing in the backyard here looking towards the front yard, and that's where we used to play basketball, and just so many memories. I think there's a lot of people just like me, and I just want to help be a voice for them and let people know that the support is really, really helpful. And moving forward, we need to look for a roof,
That's the home you grew up in?
Yes.
And it's now nothing. Yeah. Have you revisited it since then?
They won't let us up.
That's right. Yeah. Of course not. So it sounds like you have a GoFundMe. I do. People can find it on my Instagram. My Instagram is IRASCIPIO. So it's at IRASCIPIO. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get your information and we can put that on our website so people can find, and if they'd like to help you and your family, 3 generations literally that need help. Our website, as you know, I think by now, is foxla.com. Stephen Scipio, we're also sorry for your loss, and you're handling it so beautifully. And thanks for sharing your story. It's inspiring.
Thank you guys for having me and shining some light on our little town.
Absolutely. For sure. All right, Alex.
Yeah, we want to highlight the reason we're going through all of this and some of the images that are just remarkable. One of our photographers that was in the field on the front lines from the beginning, his name is Tony Butita. He often works with Gigi Graciette in the mornings. He's put together some of those images that he shot of the Palisades fire over several days. Take a look.
Do what you can, but get out. Get your go bag and get out. Don't underestimate the ability of the fire to jump from house to house to house.
This is on Sunset Boulevard at Rustic Lane, and what you are watching, unfortunately, are multiple homes that are now burning and are going to be a total loss. The embers are just continuing to fly. Well, firefighters have told me they have no water on this block, and you may be able to make out the ember storm that we're in the middle of right now. This house going to be a total loss. They have no water to put on this fire.
brings tears to your eyes.
I'm sad. I'm saddened, and I'm going to miss the stuff. I'll never forget the memories.
Our thanks to Tony Butita for his extraordinary work out there, and all the photographers and reporters who have been putting all of that in for so many days now. We want to talk now about the legislative way forward, because we know that both the state and the federal government are going to have a big role here in terms of how we rebuild, and frankly have a big paycheck to pay to help that rebuilding. Joining us right now is the state senator who represents Altadena, Sasha Renee Perez. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. I know this is tough. You just started in this job.
That's right.
And what a way to start in it. You've been out there on the front lines with the governor, with other legislators. What did you see up close and personal?
Honestly, it's been pretty devastating. Altadena looks unrecognizable. Almost the entire commercial corridor in Altadena has been wiped out. Entire sections of streets, burnt to the ground. It is unlike anything that I've ever seen before, and it's honestly been just really shocking and really heartbreaking. And I think a lot of people in the community right now are mourning.
So here are some of the images of you out there touring it with other officials as well. And part of what we recognize is there's going to be a big federal response. There's going to be a big state response as well. Governor Newsom just yesterday proposing $2.5 billion coming from the state.
That's right.
First off, is that even enough? And secondly, what does that do?
Yeah, so, those investments are going to be focused really on two different areas. One is going to be prevention, making sure that this doesn't happen again, right? And making sure that our systems are prepared for this. Unfortunately, and this is the scary part, Alex, I think that if we don't get a hold of climate change, we're going to continue to see more of these types of disasters. And so we need to be prepared. We're in the middle of January. It's not even summertime yet, and we're having this horrific fire. In addition to that, we know that we're going to need these dollars to help rebuild our communities. We have many small business owners that have said that they want to get right back to operating their business in Altadena. They want to give back. We have homeowners that want to come back as well. This is a historic community, so much generational wealth that was lost in the burning of these homes. And we want to make sure we're injecting those funds back into these individuals.
When a lot of people hear climate change, there's some folks that will respond, what about, forest management, that we need to do a better job of preventing some of this? Some of the policies have led to this. What do you say to that?
I think it's everything.
Yes,
it's forest management. Yes, it's hiring more firefighters. Yes, it's addressing climate change. We're going to need all hands on deck for this. This is not just a one policy solution that's going to fix this. This is a huge issue that we're now dealing with this. Some of my firefighters told me there were 90-mile-per-hour winds happening on Tuesday night. They couldn't even see in front of their face as they were fighting fires. I mean, this was something that we'd never seen before in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some crazy windstorms in the past, but the combination of everything that happened here was really, really bad. So in terms of a timeline for the folks, we just talked with somebody here who was an Altadena homeowner for years, many of these people there for generations, and they're wondering, what's the process? What's the timeline? What are we thinking?
So, I can tell you right now, there's a couple of things that we're working on, both legislatively. I think over this next year, you've seen the moratorium that's been put in place by the insurance commissioner to make sure that people's homeowners insurance is not being canceled. We're working on legislation to expand that also to commercial businesses as well, make sure that those small business owners are protected. And over time, we're going to be designing these programs to make sure that they're moving swiftly. I think myself, the governor, Supervisor Barker have made very clear that we don't want for people to get caught up in the red tape. We want this process to be efficient, and we know people want to see a quick response. And so that's what we're trying to do here, is streamline the process. We've seen that already in some of the executive orders that have happened, so that's the priority.
Let's just take a moment to talk about you a little bit. I at some point wanted to do an introduction to you segment. I didn't want it to be under these circumstances, but you're the youngest legislator, right? And this is your hometown area. Talk to us a little bit about how you just started and now to have this in front of you.
Yeah, I have to tell you, it's been a little bit overwhelming, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Alex, unfortunately, before this, I was in the city of Alhambra. I was the mayor there, and we dealt with disaster there as well when we had the Monterey Park mass shooting. So And that anniversary is actually coming up next year. So it is a little difficult to go through this during this time, but this is what I was elected to do, and more than anything, I just want to stand up and make sure that I'm serving my constituents. Them letting me know the problems that they're having so that I can troubleshoot and fix things is just so incredibly helpful. We just want these services to be accessible to them and for the process to also be easy. I don't want to put anybody through more stress. And so getting their feedback on how we can improve things has just been so tremendous and helpful with us creating better processes for everyone.
And so State Senator Shastra Renee Perez, if people have issues, they can reach out to your office directly and have that feedback, have that conversation, try to get solutions to all that. Thanks for coming in. Best of luck out there on the front lines. Marla, over to you.
SoCal Edison is facing a new lawsuit for the deadly Eaton Fire. The lawsuits claim Edison's poor power line maintenance sparked the fire. Witnesses reported seeing flames near its equipment. Now, homeowners, renters, and businesses are seeking accountability as SoCal Edison's parent company has seen its shares drop 12%. In a new statement to Fox 11, SoCal Edison denies responsibility, saying its lines were off before the Eaton Fire started. Here's a statement. I'll read it. It's long. Our hearts remain with our communities during the devastating fires in Southern California, and we remain committed to supporting them through this difficult time. SCE crews, contractors, and mutual assistance partners are dedicated to safely restoring power to our customers. SCE understands that a lawsuit related to the Eaton Fire has been filed but has not yet been served with the complaint. SCE will review the complaint when it is received. The cause of the fire continues to be under investigation. And we continue to hear heartbreaking stories of people who have lost everything. How do you even begin to start over when you don't have a path to get there? Filmmaker Valentina Castellani Quinn and her daughter, Sophia, they lost their home of 20 years in the Palisades Fire. And Valentina, she joins me now via Zoom. It's good to see you. I'm so sorry it's under these circumstances. I'm so sorry about the loss of your home.
Marla, good evening. Yeah, there are no words, and it's very difficult to describe the state of mind right now. The priority is just to do those very practical, basic steps as find a place to stay. What are you going to wear? We lost everything. So we're navigating this chaos as other thousands people. And my only wish for all of us, because we're not all celebrities. I see kids, I see students, I see international people, and just families, is that the authorities in this case, that were obviously very not present throughout, because this was preventable at some level, as we all know. The water tanks, the reservoirs were empty. There weren't enough firemen. I don't need to list all the things that weren't checked. But I think this is a great opportunity for all of us, not just the people. As you see, the people at the level of the people, this community is outstanding. And I see that once again is something that makes us all smile to see the love, the support, the strength, the courage. But our authorities has to certainly develop a much better plan and not certainly cut on the firemen, on the emergencies, and leave the town.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see you in all of that. You were talking about the community coming together, and that's when your face lit up and you had that smile there amid all of the devastation and all of the destruction. And you, like so many, if I understand your story, you literally lost everything except the clothes on your back. Your daughter, Sophia, she's an audio engineer. She lost all of her equipment and instruments, everything that she uses to make a living. Is that right?
Very much so. It was heartbreaking. We had to evacuate at midnight when the firemen knocked at our door and they said the fire is behind your hill. He's gonna get here. So without light, we just grabbed what everybody kind of feel like, the passport, the computer, the cell phone, and we left. And we all found shelter in this restaurant, Olo, which still had power and internet to communicate because it's next to the fire station. So it served as a shelter in Malibu for those people that weren't able to evacuate through PCH, which was already fully on fire. And we were there for 3 days, just hoping and trying to navigate what was going on. And then finally I was granted access to our house street, Rambla Vista, to only see that the house was completely gone in ashes. So I think is probably the worst image that I can keep in my heart. And it takes a lot of courage to start all over, but of course we have to be fully united and think about a better plan from now on.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you were critical of the response. What about in recovery? How are you navigating this? What will you do next?
Very difficult. I tell you, with my daughter, we spent the day applying to all the different government sites for help, and then there are some great brands and stores that gives you some clothing and items that obviously we all need. So and in between these operations that becomes very mechanical, because we all try to keep our emotions on a side in order to survive, we keep reminding back, I did have a house, I had a place, I had a history, I had awards and a family and what it's called a home, not a house as four walls, but actually a home. And now I can only have it within me and look in front, and obviously it's impossible to do long-term plans. So our plan is today I'm gonna get some clothes and something to eat, and I'm gonna fill up this formula and try to understand how this site works, because we are all foreign to this, so it's not an easy process to navigate. I'm glad to know that there are centers at UCLA and in different parts of the town that will help you navigate this. I survived, I want to say I survived 4 fires since I came in here 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I never saw such a state of devastation in my life. Not only in the States, I'm European, I'm Italian originally, and I saw floods and earthquakes, but nothing like this.
Well, I'm sorry, all that you've gone through since you've been here. It sounds like the community is keeping your spirits up.
Yes.
So, of course, lean on us as much as possible. Do you have a GoFundMe? You do?
My daughter has one.
Okay, we'll get that information and we'll put that on our website. You know, we're obviously have a lot of people who we're trying to take care of here, so people can go to foxla.com. And in the meantime, Valentina Castellani-Quinn, I want to thank you so much for being with us. And again, I'm sorry it's under these circumstances.
Oh, thank you so much for your support and for staying with us throughout this chaos and this hell.
Of course, we're here for you. All right, let's check that forecast and talk about those all-important winds with Chief Meteorologist Adam Kruger.
Yeah, so a couple things we saw today. First of all, the high wind warning was dropped. Winds not as extreme as it was looking like they could have been for today. We're still on high alert into tomorrow, though. And when I say we, I'm talking about mostly areas in the red flag warning. And you'll see there's a pretty good chunk of Los Angeles excluded from the red flag warning because winds are so much lighter around a lot of the LA basin, even into the San Gabriel Valley today, down to Long Beach and along the Orange County coastline as well. So this magenta color is the red flag warning in effect until the end of the day tomorrow, until 6 p.m. Then we have this little portion right here. So part of the San Gabriel Mountains, the Santa Susana Mountains, and this darker kind of purplish color, that's red flag warning actually goes until 3 p.m. Thursday, because Wednesday night it does actually look like it might be a bit gusty just in these particular spots. So again, wind advisory, though, that's in effect for pretty much the same areas where we have the red flag warning right now. That's in effect through the day tomorrow. And this is where we expect windy conditions, not extreme, not a high wind warning, but windy conditions and gusts in some spots, especially the higher elevations, could at times get up to or even a little bit above 50 miles per hour. So not talking about the 70, we're not talking about 80, 90, or even up to 100 like we saw the most extreme cases last week, but gusts up to or even above 50 will be possibly occurring. Now, as we look right now, winds, again, are not too strong for a lot of the area. We do have some gusty spots that's really highlighted in purple pretty nicely on this map. Here we go into midnight. overnight. We start to see the winds begin to pick up a little bit overnight. Then we go into tomorrow, and this is going to be the peak of our current stretch of Santa Ana winds, and especially up to the north right through here is where the winds will be most intense. And the reason why we're seeing such a kind of gap here and where the strongest winds are is because of the nature of the wind direction. Unlike last week, which the winds were more out of the north-northeast, kind of like this time around they're angled more out of the east-northeast like this, and that's kind of confining the strongest winds here because the San Gabriel Mountains actually protect a lot of the LA Basin and the San Gabriel Valley from getting those stronger winds when the winds come in at the angle they're coming in right now. Now, there will be an area of winds kind of leaking through the Cajon Pass down the 15 corridor, getting into parts of the Inland Empire. That'll be an area to watch. The biggest concern, though, I'd say up to the north of LA and even along and north of the 101 especially, it looks like where the strongest winds will be. Continuing into Wednesday afternoon, still windy, but the wind speeds start to come down a little bit. End of the day Wednesday looking a whole lot better. Wednesday night, again, a couple of those pockets up north. And then check out Thursday. We see an onshore wind finally making a comeback, which will bring that humidity up and basically bring an end to our Santa Ana event by Thursday and Friday. And this weekend, same can be said, more of an onshore wind or higher humidity. Dr. D, we had him on earlier talking about the air quality, and don't be fooled and don't let your guard down just because you see the air quality sensors measuring good air. These measure ozone, particulates. They're not measuring carcinogens, toxins that could be in the air. And until we get some clarity on what that situation looks like around a lot of Southern California, I'd say probably better safe to be sorry with a mask, but of course that choice is up to you. Temperatures overnight will be chilly like we've seen the last few nights, by the way, because the air is dry. It cools down a lot at night. We see some 40s. We have those freezing temperatures up north. And the last thing we'll show you is it will be a relatively warm winter day tomorrow, especially around a lot of the LA Basin towards the coast with highs in the 70s. Alex.
Adam, thank you so much. We want to show you some new video coming into our newsroom of the schools damaged in the Palisades fire. This is Marquez Charter Elementary. Very badly burned, as we're seeing in the new video. Some of the buildings survived, but the main office and most of the original classrooms were all destroyed. Here's a first look at damage from Palisades Charter Elementary School. This school, built back in the 20s, largely destroyed. A playground structure survived, which many see as a sign of hope. Some good news from students from both of these schools. In-person learning resumes tomorrow, but at different campuses. Students from Palisades Charter Elementary will be temporarily located to Brentwood Elementary Science and Magnet School. Students from Marquez will head to Nora Steary Elementary. LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho will be at both schools to welcome students tomorrow.
All day, people have been visiting the Community Education Center in Pasadena for critical recovery-related services. And Fox's Austin Westfall has been out there all day. Austin, it is closing soon at 8 o'clock. People still there?
There's a few people still here. And Alex, you had asked me earlier today, how long are the lines? Well, here's a life hack for you possibly. Maybe come later in the day. Things are a lot less busy here. They are starting to slow down quite a bit. In fact, they're packing up some of the tables. They are still here, though. FEMA's still here. We do still see a small trickle of people coming in. Of course, people are coming here to figure out how to move forward. Property owners, they may have questions about how they can get help if their home was either damaged or destroyed. And if yours was, the county says you're likely entitled to property damage relief. That means you don't need to pay property taxes on your home for the time being. You can also rebuild your property for up to 120% of what it previously was, and your taxes will stay the same as they were before the fire. I spoke with the LA County assessor. He wanted to emphasize one thing.
Do not pay anybody for services related to anything dealing with the government, particularly in my office. People are going to offer you to help you with your property tax relief claims for a fee. You don't have to pay anybody, and they cannot provide any added value service that would be any different than what you could do yourself. Watch out for these scammers and people try to take your money from you.
Now, although property taxes can be forgiven by the assessor, property taxes on the land is a different story. They may apply a decline in value to the land, you guys. That means that your land tax would be less, but still that land tax will come back. That bill will come back to you. You're looking at the address for the location here. It's the Community Education Center. This is not the main Pasadena City College campus. It's about a 9-10 minute drive away. They say there'll be set up here from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week for the foreseeable future. Back to you guys.
Austin Westfall, thank you. Just a question to you, and if you've noticed, there's some people that have been popping up on the air in the last few days that you're like, I haven't seen that person before. Are they new? And Austin is in helping us out for a few days. He's part of the Fox family with Fox News Now, and I think you're a Southern Californian natively. I'm just curious for you what it's like coming home, seeing the community like this, and what this whole experience has been like for you.
I grew up in Chatsworth, went to school in Santa Clarita, covered wildfires in Santa Clarita and in Porter Ranch. Seeing what we've seen out here, guys, it's absolutely breathtaking to see the damage that's been done, but I gotta say, covering lots of stories like this, to see the way that people have come together, that's really a sight to see as well. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Now, is your family still here? Is everyone safe?
Everybody in Chatsworth is safe, thankfully. I got to go home and visit them last night. They're very happy to see me. I'm based with Live Now in Phoenix, so coming here for work and thankfully able to check in with the folks at the same time.
And in terms of what you learned out there today, what was the most surprising thing you learned that maybe you didn't know at the beginning of the day?
Yeah, so the real big thing that I learned, we expected to come out here and see FEMA operations in effect. We got here, and yeah, FEMA, they're in effect, but the county is out here, Cal OES is out here, the governor's office was out here earlier today, public health is out here. This is a one-stop shop. For anybody that's in the area, they're trying to make this location a hub for just about anybody, anything that anybody needs. If anybody has any questions about the types of assistance that they can get, and there is an almost unending list of things that people need, an unending list of stories that people have, and it's really quite incredible. All the different agencies that are here, all the different, even just volunteers that are showing up here. There weren't even people that were affiliated with any organizations. There were plenty of people here that were standing by. They had cases of water, they had food, they were offering them to everybody that was here, all the folks that were waiting in line. You guys, it's been incredible to see everything working out here.
Yeah,
and it's a well-oiled machine, I'll say that. Everybody's working very hard out here, and everybody's in good spirits that's working.
And there's a similar center in the Westside Pavilion, which I visited earlier today, and what I was struck by was like all the things you wouldn't think about. Like there's a DMV booth for people that lost their driver's license, and they're able to take your picture. There's a place if your passport isn't there for them to get that moving. I mean, there's all these little things that people have and take advantage of, and take for granted, I should say, that are all available for people if they come to these spots. But Austin, it is good to have you here. I'm sure your family's appreciating the chance to watch you here on our air, and we're grateful for your reporting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Austin.
We're getting some new numbers of arrests for crimes like burglary, looting, vandalism, and curfew violation in all the fire zones. Marla? The total number of arrests so far is 93. Breaking it down, Santa Monica Police has made 40 arrests. LA County Sheriff's deputies have arrested 39 people. The LAPD has arrested 14 people.
Well, many of us are looking to help those affected by the wildfires. Some people are looking to make a quick buck. Yeah, LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman says he's aware of price gouging and scams related to the fire recovery effort. The DA's office says it is investigating reports of price gouging for housing, medical items, and other supplies. California law prohibits raising the cost of goods and services over 10% during an emergency. That law also covers hotel rooms and rental housing. Penalties include fines up to $10,000 or up to a year in jail, or both. If you suspect you're being taken advantage of, you can call 800-593-8282. Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen sends its network of chefs all over the world to feed people after a crisis.
Bob DeCastro has more on these efforts in Pacific Palisades.
For many, many years, World Central Kitchen has responded immediately after there is disaster, and this time it is no different. Their chefs, their cooks, their whole operation have fanned out all across the fire zones here in Los Angeles County. You could see all of the first responders here. We are in the Palisades along PCH, and one of the folks responding and feeding these first responders is Daniel Shemtab. He's going to show us a little bit more. You brought out the truck, the lime truck. People are familiar with the green truck. How has it been over the past couple of days, just responding to what has been just an incredible amount of first responders and firefighters out here on the front lines?
It's been really intense. I mean, we've scrambled to put things together. My team got up at 1 a.m. this morning to be able to get out here and help, and I think it's just been really impactful. There's something about feeding people and giving nourishment and giving hospitality that is deeply innate in the lime truck and in me and in our business, and so I think being able to offer that to other people and being able to just help the people helping others, it feels ultimately really good.
You personally have been affected by the fire, and sorry that you lost your home. It's got to be terrible. You and your brother. It has to be a surreal experience to lose your home in that way and to still jump out here and try to help out.
Losing my house is terrible. My wife is 7 months pregnant. We're trying to build our life together, and we just moved into our home less than a year ago, and it was to start our family, and my brother lives in the neighborhood, our parents-in-law, our brother-in-law. So we're all here, and we had this dream, and it kind of got ripped away from us, and I went into deep depression. I mean, I couldn't even be alone for more than like 10 minutes, and I couldn't focus on anything, and I started to realize that the only way I might be able to get out of this is by starting to help others and starting to appreciate and have gratitude for this amazing community. I mean, the way that LA is banded together, the way that World Central Kitchen getting me out and cooking on my food truck, that's the first time I smiled in a week, was when I was making food and I was sweating and I was stressed out, and it felt all that energy, and time went by and I just felt good for the first time in so long.
Check out the lime truck, their website. We also have a link to the website for World Central Kitchen on our website, foxla.com. If you'd like to donate and help out, this is going to be a long process in its recovery. They also have volunteer opportunities as well.
All right, Bob, thank you so much for that. Free N95 masks are now available across Los Angeles. The city is handing out hundreds of thousands of masks at public libraries, recreation centers, senior centers, and local nonprofits, all to help protect people from poor air quality. Officials recommend wearing the masks outdoors if you smell smoke, see ash, or when air quality is bad. To find a location near you, you can visit foxla.com.
And join Fox's support of families impacted by the California wildfires. Visit go.fox/Red Cross, or you can scan the QR code on your screen.
All right, let's recap the fires that we're following, the two biggest ones, right? So the largest fire, the Palisades Fire, it's burned almost 24,000 acres. This afternoon, containment went up from 17 to 18%. We'll take it 1% at a time if we have to. The Eaton Fire acreage burned. That's burned about 14,000 acres. That's remained steady. Containment there is up to 35%. More than 12,000 structures have been damaged or destroyed. And all, that is more than 7,000 in the Eaton Fire and more than 5,000 in the Palisades Fire.
We're now up to 25 people dead in the two fires. That's up 1 today, 8 in the Palisades Fire, 17 in the Eaton Fire. More than 80,000 people still without power, about 88,000 people still evacuated in those evacuation zones. That overnight curfew now in place. It started at 6 o'clock, goes to 6 in the morning. There has been a change in the weather conditions. Adam Kruger, that is the main focus tonight, is winds, and so far it's been so good.
Yeah,
right?
A good rule of thumb here is if it was not windy where you are today, tomorrow is probably going to be relatively calm where you are as well. If it was windy where you were today, you're going to see those winds still strong tomorrow, and a little stronger tomorrow than what we saw today. But it's the areas north of the LA Basin, San Fernando Valley, go north from there, Santa Clarita, kind of that general area, San Gabriel Mountains, where the winds will be most concerning for tomorrow. By the end of the day tomorrow, our alerts are pretty much wrapped up.
Okay, so if we feel like we get through that, then we can breathe a little easier and move into more of the recovery. Although we may not be able to breathe that easy because the air quality is terrible.
I was going to get to that. And the air quality sensors, I mean, we're kind of learning about this as we go here, but just because they say good doesn't mean that the carcinogens and toxins are not in the air. The Coalition for Clean Air actually has a webinar tomorrow at 3 p.m. with a whole panel of doctors that are going to be talking about this. So if people are looking for some real good info on that.
Maybe you could give us the highlights tomorrow, too.
Yeah.